What is going on, everybody? It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. A.Lo, a.k.a. The Goddamn Truth. And this is an impromptu emergency live stream because I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked that changes happened. I'm shocked at two of those three names, to be quite honest with you. And all this news has just broken. So, of course, we're going to talk about it. Off season has officially begun. I mean, the off season began 5 weeks ago, but the off season now has officially began for Florida State. And we said this was going to be a crucial off season, and they didn't waste any time making this splash. Which, in my opinion, when you fire both offensive and defensive coordinators, I didn't think they were going to do that. I thought they would end up keeping both of these guys on staff. I thought one guy may got a demotion, but to just flat out get rid of them. Kudos to the administration. A lot more moves still to get to remain. We're going to talk about all of that. But as always, you on 863 Seminole TV. And hit that like button, share the video, subscribe. Happy Sunday to all. And yeah. Like, we're going to talk about it. I would say to people that are asking, what about this coach? They weren't going to fire the entire staff. They still got 2 games to play. You still need to go out there and do something the next 2 weeks. So a lot of people are saying, Shannon, oh my God, we have Shannon as defensive coordinator. Shannon will not be your defensive coordinator next year, guys. I am telling you with almost 100% confidence, Randy Shannon is a temporary thing until the offseason. Somebody still has to call a defense. You fire Fuller, that's the main culprit. Randy, he's here because someone still has to run and call a defense the next 2 games. He's not going to get some extension. Randy Shannon is not going to be your defensive coordinator. Like, let's use our common sense, folks. You weren't going to fire the entire staff this Sunday. But we said a message need to be sent, correct? Well, I don't know what bigger message that you can send than telling your offensive coordinator and your defense. Well, there's only one other message that you can send bigger than that, and that was for Mike Norvell to get fired. We all pretty came to the conclusion that Mike Norvell wasn't going to – there were 65 million reasons why Mike Norvell wasn't going to get fired. We knew that. But you did the next best thing. You got rid of an offensive coordinator who may have just been OC in name, but his offensive line, absolutely atrocious. His evals in recruiting, absolutely atrocious. Alex Atkins had no legs to stand on. Had to get him out of here. Defensive coordinator. Adam Fuller's probably the biggest shocker to me as far as the firings. Because Adam Fuller's actually an individual who has some legs to stand on in that conversation of, hey, my defense has arguably been better than your offense, Mike. But I've been on the record as I think Fuller's a decent defensive coordinator. I just don't think he's a Florida State defensive coordinator. Doesn't call an aggressive defense enough. We don't do too many things, exotic, different looks. Just the blitz, just everything that we've talked about over the years about Adam Fuller's defense. I'm so happy we're making a change, but I will not lie and say that I'm not surprised that they actually pulled the trigger on Adam Fuller. And that comes – now there's a lot of questions that come after these firings, like who do you hire? What defensive coordinator do you get to fill in for an Adam Fuller? Can you convince a defensive coordinator to fill in for Adam Fuller? A legit one, right? Because we talked about it last night on the instant reaction, which wasn't an instant reaction. We just was talking. You're going to fire guys. Now you got to bring in the names. You got to bring in the names. You got to bring in guys that makes players around the country's ears perk up, eyebrows raise. That's the hires that have to be made now. Okay, you fire Adam Fuller. Don't go get me Matthew Smith from Ball State because he's a good up and coming coach. Like, you can't. No, that's not the hire that has to be made here. Now you got to go get me a name offensively and defensively. But let's do a quick roll call so we can shout out everybody who joined me on this impromptu Sunday conversation. I want to make sure I hit the chat up, and I think I saw a super chat, so I definitely want to make sure I get in on that. I just want to show love to everybody that decided to kick it with us. Pastino, FSU, Tony's in the building, Grillmaster, Jalen, Dupree Hyundai, Aaron Johns, Antoine Stone, Donald Gelsley, Loading, Ahmad Davis, Jerg in the building, D Nice, Music 89. What's going on? Brandon, what's good with you? Vontae B, Lewis in the building, Todd Pope, Stroking the Flame, ML1219, D Thompson, Know the Rules, John Harrell, Tyler, I ain't seen you all year, man. I don't blame you for not showing up all year. Tyler in the building. Tyler says, new OC, new DC, got a clean house. Wouldn't be shocked if everyone not named Patrick Surtain weren't out of a job, and even he might be gone. Jeff is in the building with the $5 donor. Says more fire. Oh, more. Listen, I'm just a light-skinned dude on YouTube, guys. Tell you that all the time. No inside information from me. There's absolutely more firings. Absolutely. If you think they're stopping at Atkins, Fuller, and Dugans, I think you're sadly mistaken. Again, you can't fire a whole staff on Sunday with 2 more games to play. There are definitely going to be more firings or people walking away. There is more changes coming, 100%. 100%. Richard Pright is in the building. Jeremy Martin. Raj Foster. Jeff with another $10. Oh, Jeff says, I think FSU football, with all their spending trying to get out of this conference, get a new football facility, they're willing to spend the money for a good – well, they're going to have to. You made the move. You know, we wondered what moves would be made. Well, you made them. You made those moves, and you're going to have to now spend the money. Absolutely. Primetime 2885 grand champion. Priscilla Chestnut, Michael Adams. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. That's everybody in the building. I think I got everybody. Momo, what's good? Yeah. So if let's just attack again. We'll start with Fuller because to me that's the big one. We'll go Fuller, Atkins, Dugans. I'll save Dugans for last because he's the guy that I think everybody like. That one had to go, right? But Fuller's the one again that I thought had some legs to stand on. He had I feel like Fuller had some type of resume that he could, and kind of like what I said before was, okay, you fire Adam Fuller. Is it possible? My guess is the message that's going to be sent out to potential coaches is, hey, we made these moves because Mike Norvell's in here for the long haul. Barring unless he repeats this season, next season, right? Mike Norvell's not going anywhere. You're in the state of Florida. Do you want to come coach this talent? Do you want to come recruit this talent? These guys drop the ball with this talent. Come on over and call a Florida State defense. Like, I guess that's the message you're trying to deliver to a potential Adam Fuller replacement. That's got to be That's got to be the story, right? That's got to be like, hey, I know Adam Fuller, in theory, or not in theory, Adam Fuller, if you look at just on paper, wielded some pretty good defenses. But they weren't Florida State defenses. And we had to tear this thing down, and I need you to come in and make this thing look like a Florida State defense. Recruit this thing like a Florida State defense. So the question with the defense now becomes who's on the hot board? Who's the hot board for defensive coordinator? What are some names? I hear a lot of people talking about Muschamp. What is Muschamp even doing right now? Is he coaching somewhere? I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to argue against Muschamp as far as the defensive coordinator goes, if that's the role he wants to take. I got to believe Brent Venables has to be on the short list. I'm not sure Brent Venables doesn't get fired himself after this year, right? If we're talking about defensive coaches that we know of, I'm not saying he's on the hot board because he still right now has a job. So it's hard to put a guy like Brent Venables. It's hard to put him, but Brent Venables is he's 5-5 this year. I don't know what, and he's 1-5 in the conference. Like Brent Venables is 1-5 in the SEC. 5-5 overall. I mean, his only wins are Tulane, Houston, Temple, and Auburn. A 3-6 all Auburn team at that. Like this guy, oh my bad, in Maine of all teams. Like, and he's closing the season with Bama and LSU. There's a good chance that Brent Venables goes 5-7 this year. What did they go last year? Does anybody remember what they went last year? I'll check real quick. Last year, now granted, this is in the Big 12, but last year Oklahoma was they only lost 2 games last year, to their credit. Well, they lost 2 regular season games. They ended up being 10-3 on the season. They finished the season 10-2. So probably don't fire Venables, though. Again, how long has Venables been there? That's going to be what? 2 losing seasons in 3 years for Brent Venables, because didn't he take over? Yeah, didn't he? His first season he went 6-7, if I'm not mistaken. So that might be a guy. I'm not looking at the chat right now, but who do y'all got? What do y'all think? Who's on your bring back Jeremy Pruitt? I don't know what Pruitt's doing at this point. Maybe not. Jeff with another $10. He says this time, Mike, when he makes the hire, he needs to make sure coaches hires have connections to the state of Florida, and they're really good recruiters. We got to have some real killers on the trail. I'm glad the thought process is shifting. I'm glad people aren't saying, you just win football games and you get some recruits. That has been disproven over and over again. I mean, I just talked about Auburn not too long ago and how they're 3-6. Check Auburn's, despite being 3-6, check what Hugh Freeze is doing on the trail. So absolutely. Get out of this mindset that if we just win games, we're going to recruit. Absolutely not. Get guys that can get on that trail and compete. Shout out to Jeff with another dono. Appreciate you, Jeff, for showing all this love. Somebody said Iowa's defensive coordinator. I'm keeping an eye on Mark Stoops to be a D coordinator. Do you think Kentucky is going to fire Stoops? I don't think Kentucky would fire Stoops. That's just me. Could be wrong. If he was to get fired, then sure. Some of the top names that we kind of want to name, and Kentucky's 3-6 too. So could Kentucky potentially like make a change? They could potentially make a change. I don't know if. Well, Mark Stoops going to circle back around and become the defensive coordinator at Florida State again. Not so sure about that one. Aranda, okay, that's another coach who's currently a head coach somewhere. But let's check real quick. I believe Baylor has their fair of struggles this year. Let's check on the Baylor Bears. And could Dave Aranda be looking for a new job? Well, he's 5-4, so currently has a winning record. Again, he's the head coach of Baylor. And he's won his last 3 games. I'm not so sure that's a... Now, granted, last year he was a 3-win team. This year he's gotten better. This is also Baylor we're talking about, right? Just to be clear, like this isn't a program that has huge expectations. You'll probably give around another year. Probably not. Again, that's probably not a realistic hire. I wouldn't be mad at it, but you're talking about a guy who's currently a head coach somewhere, so it's probably not a realistic hire. And I don't think they'll fire him unless you think Baylor just has this belief that they deserve better, and maybe they do. It's possible that Baylor could let him go. It's very much possible that Baylor could let him go. I'm just not so sure. I'm just not so sure he would. Brett has a $40 million buyout. Again, some of these guys we're talking about, like I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure they are realistic options. Randy Shannon is currently, listen, folks, Randy Shannon is currently your defensive coordinator. Do not get your panties in a bunch over Randy Shannon being the temporary defensive coordinator. There's still 2 games to play. Somebody has to call the defense. They got to keep some people. Again, you're not going to fire every staff member. Let's have realistic conversations here now and let's not go over the hill. Yes, Randy Shannon is your defensive coordinator. He will not be your defensive coordinator next year. Mike Norvell did not fire, Florida State, for that matter, did not fire Adam Fuller, who I believe they're paying like $2 million to go, Randy Shannon, the job's yours. Come on. We got to be smarter than that. He's the acting defensive coordinator for now. Will not be the defensive coordinator next year. They will go out and hire a guy. You want to promote Derek Nicholson straight to defensive coordinator from linebacker coach? I mean, interesting. We're gonna get to offensive side now in a few. I want to stick to the defensive side. Like who do we think could be the defensive coordinator at Florida State? Like who's on the hot board? Who's on the hot board? I think again, I think maybe I don't know what Will Musch, and who knows what Will Muschamp's up to these days. That's my question. Will Muschamp what is Will Muschamp doing these days? Is he still like an analyst at Georgia? I'm not sure what he's doing at this point. According to this, according to this, Muschamp is still an off-field analyst at Georgia. I mean, come on. In my opinion, you got to call Muschamp up and see if he's interested. That's probably got to be on the top of the list. Somebody tell me I'm wrong there. Muschamp's probably got to be on your top of the list as far as defensive coaches. My bad. Just was reading something. He goes, I'm mixed on. What's there to be mixed on? What's there to be mixed? I was about to get to this one in a minute, Cool Breeze. I was actually going to get to him next, but I want to stick with Muschamp for a little bit. What are you mixed on? I'm just curious. Not saying you're wrong about anything, stroking the flame. I'm just curious when you say you're mixed on Will Muschamp. What are you mixed on? Y'all gonna have to excuse me because I'm typing up names as I'm typing up names while we talk about these hot boards. While I wait for Stroking the Flame to answer the question, KCS with the $9.99. Appreciate you, KCS, for showing that love. Great news, Knowles. Thanks for bringing the show. Thank you for showing up to the show on this unannounced emergency live stream. Appreciate everybody who came in here to kick it with us. As this is the most exciting thing that's happened to FSU all year. This is the most. I don't know if y'all can tell if y'all been watching me all year. This is the most excited I've been. I'm ready for this off season. I am 100%, 1,010% ready, and I am excited that we're doing something. So shout out to KCS. Shout out to those coaches. Hey, look, if there's one group of workers in America that I don't feel sorry for when they lose jobs, and that's college football coaches. They get paid more money to get fired half of the time than they do to actually coach. Ron Dugans, Alex Atkins, and Adam Fuller will be fine. They are getting a nice little lump sum of money to go away. Their families will not suffer. Nobody will not get fed. Those individuals and their families will be A-okay. Oh, and again, appreciate you, KCS, for the $9.99.
Click a deep crank, the money goes into my biggie bank.
Says at UF we saw elite defensive play. Auburn didn't have the same success. Auburn, I'm not going to compare Auburn to Florida, but I think Florida State and Florida would be a better comparison, don't you think? Both in the state. Elite defensive play at Florida. Why do you think so? Because he had the access to the Florida talent. Maybe not so much at Auburn. Well, why do you think so? South Carolina had good defenses under him as when he was the head coach. So I don't know. Give me Muschamp's got to be one of the guys on top of the board, in my opinion. But I want to circle back to this name because this is another good one. Travis Williams at Arkansas. The guy that's responsible for taking Travion Wallace, who was trending to Florida, obviously before Florida State tanked on the season and went 1-9, but we were actually still had expectations. It was ranked top 10. We couldn't land the top linebacker on our board. Well, the guy responsible for taking him from us has to be a guy that I think is on the short list of that hot board. Travis Williams. This is a guy who's coached at Auburn under Gene Chizik. Northern Iowa, he was a linebacker coach there. Then he went with Gus Malzahn at UCF. And then he's been at Arkansas since 2022. So this just, again, recap of his he's also a guy who played in the he played for Auburn. He played in the NFL. He was a linebacker in the NFL. I'll take that. Again, coached at Auburn, North Iowa. Then he went the high school route. Then came back to college at Auburn, where he stayed there until 2021. Then was the defensive coordinator at UCF, and now he's defensive coordinator at Arkansas. Let's see if we can figure out what's Arkansas's. Now, granted, let's take this with a grain of salt here. This is Arkansas we're talking about. Doesn't have the most talent there, but I'm curious to see what is Arkansas defense rankings. Overall, the Hogs defense is giving up 300 and this is this year. They're giving up 321 yards per game, which is 9th in the SEC. The Hogs ranked 5th in the SEC in sacks. And they have a guy on that defense that's tied for number 1 in interceptions in the SEC. Arkansas Arkansas's defense outstanding midway through 2024 season. The consensus seems to be that, given the university, Arkansas seems to be looked at as having a fairly good defense. Says pass on Will. We can pass on Will. I just want a reason. I just want a reason why we just automatically go, I'll pass on Will Muschamp. What's up, Galaxy? He says, damn, I hope Mike get this wrong. I need my Canes to make a 4 to 5 year run. I hear you. My 2 cents. Muschamp seems to know how to scheme against older-fashioned offensive styles. We don't know how he does in today's game. He's not a chump, though. There's always one, guys. There's always one. Thank you, NK, for coming in here and saying what you have to say. I appreciate you showing up on this Sunday. We want to talk about 2 years ago, or we want to talk about 2024? That's all I'm asking. And all I've ever said about Adam Fuller was, well, you can't call him the problem. The man continued to improve the defense while the offense continued to get worse. Those aren't even opinions. Those are facts. Adam Fuller's defense wasn't the overall problem at Florida State. Your offense scored 13 points a game. That's the problem at Florida State. That's all I ever said about Adam Fuller. Will is outdated. Based on what? Based on the last time you saw the man coach, was defensive coordinator, was what? At Auburn, and then he took a head coaching job. Arkansas's defense is 102nd in the nation. We need a proven defensive coordinator. Okay. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Because everything I'm seeing here says otherwise. Okay, so here we go. Arkansas, that's their offense. Offense. Where's the defense? This is just offensive stats. Oh, hold on. Okay, overall statistics. I'm not sure how to read what I'm looking at, to be quite honest with you. Because this says Arkansas offense and defense. Let's see if I'm reading this correct. That's offensive stats. And the defense is right here. Yards per game, Arkansas's defense ranks 102nd. Absolutely correct. They give up 419.6 yards per game. Their rushing yards per game. So how many yards or yards per rush? 3.9, which is in the top 40, at number 38. I'm trying to just look at all the different stacks here. And again, I am going to grade this guy on a whole different scale than I would grade most coaches. For the simple fact, I need a guy who can recruit. If they believe he can recruit, I think he probably can recruit. The stats don't necessarily help this case, to be fair, what's being said about him. But again, he's also the head coach, the defensive coordinator at Arkansas. And it's probably a tough place to coach. Tough place to coach. But he's definitely, I think, going to be a name on that hot board. I do think he'll be a name on the hot board. Get the UGA D line coach. I see Brian Borland. We'll look up a few more names defensively, and then we'll move on to offense. Brian Borland. The guy who coaches at Kansas. Defensive coordinator at Kansas. Now, here's my problem with the person you just grand champion. My problem with this guy is I don't know this guy now. Matter of fact, let me click on this Wikipedia here. Okay, so you have this guy's old. That comes as the first problem. Not saying that an older coach is necessarily a problem, but I'm going to read off some stuff. So he graduated college in 1985. Okay. His first GA job was at Wisconsin in 85. He was a GA at Florida in 88. No, I think I'll pass on Borland. There's nothing here that I'm seeing. I would love to know why he's a guy you would want to hire. I think I'll pass on Brian Borland. You're talking about an older coach, and then you look at the places he's been. Minnesota Morris, never heard of it. Baker, he was D coordinator at Baker. What is that? A bakery? I don't know what that is. From 1994 to 2014, Wisconsin Whitewater. Bro, he was assistant. He was the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator at a place for 10 years. For 20 years. From 1994 to 2014, the man was at the place called Wisconsin Whitewater as the assistant head coach and D coordinator. Then he spent 5 years at Buffalo from 15 to 20. We're going to pass on Brian Borland. Anybody else have any other names? I don't know. Tavares Robinson, you got to probably give that a look. Can you get him from Georgia? That's probably the biggest question mark with that one. Could you actually pull that one off? Not so sure. If I'm an OSU fan, I'd be nervous. Mike ain't giving up play calling. I could see him making Hartline an OC and receivers coach. His recruiting is second to none when it comes to wide receivers. If Mike's not going to give up the play calling, then what do they fire Alex Atkins for? So you might be right, KCS. I don't know for sure, but it doesn't make sense. And if we're just going to have the same play calling, then firing Atkins is doing, in my opinion, is not doing anything. You fire Atkins. One of the solutions to the problem is whoever they hire to get that offensive coordinator job has to call their offense. We talked about this last night about how we need a guy that's going to be hands-off and facilitate, let coaches coach. If Mike's not going to give up play calling, then I would argue greatly that it doesn't matter who you hire offensively, and we probably shouldn't even be talking about offensive coordinator at this point. You were better off keeping Alex Atkins because what does it mean? And I agree with this in the sense of why would Hartline leave OSU if he's not gonna get the upgrade to be a play caller? It makes no sense for Hartline to then leave OSU. Tyler, you got to stop. Bro, it's Kansas, bro. It's Kansas in the Big 12. I'm sorry, Grand Champion. We are talking about changing a staff to not only be able to coach, but more importantly, recruit. Because proof's in the pudding. You get the players in. Hell, Adam Fuller. When Adam Fuller has Fisk and Verse and Deloach and Bethune, all of a sudden Adam Fuller looks like a good defensive coordinator, don't he? Based on last year, Adam Fuller shouldn't be fired. Right? Give me the players. The production will follow. We need guys that can get the players. I don't have any. I'm sorry, but Brian Borland, I just read off that resume. Doesn't sound like a guy that has any Florida connections. I'm sorry. That's not a guy that I think going to come in here and get the top players in the state of Florida to Florida State. I could be wrong, but that's not the name that I'm looking at. And Brian Borland, I'm sorry, Grand Champion. I get what you're saying about production, but if we haven't expressed enough that we are trying to get guys that can recruit so we can have, I don't know, the Timmy Jernigans and the Jalen Ramseys and the Telvin Smiths and the Derwin Jameses and the Ronald that caliber of player back at Florida State, yeah, you got to be able to recruit that. I think he has to, Antoine. I think you can't be stubborn. You can't be stubborn at this point. 1-9 is 1-9. The proof's in the pudding at 1-9. I'm not sure why giving up play calling. Again, if we're talking about bringing in an offensive coordinator that everybody would be satisfied with, then Mike has to give up play calling. He has to. You absolutely have to give up play calling to even attract a decent enough offensive coordinator. Everybody will make the transition to offensive coordinator because everybody wants Brendan, what's his name? UNLV guy, Brandon Manning, I think is his name, or Marion. Brendan Marion. Everybody wants him. And he had a recent interview where he praised Mike Norvell as being like the coach that made him the coach that he is. He's the coach that's his mentor. Like, that's his guy. Coach Norvell's his guy, and he gives Coach Norvell all the credit for making him the coach that he is. I love it. You think that guy's leaving UNLV and the go-go offense to then let Mike Norvell call plays? Like, if you're going to get the offensive coordinator that you think you want/need, Mike Norvell has to give up calling plays, or everything that we're talking about here is pointless. Firing Alex Atkins is pointless. Oh, why? Okay, the O-line sucks, but if we're still calling the same plays, if the plays are still being designed in the same fashion that we talked about last night, how the play designs are just atrocious as is, then who you get as an OC is irrelevant. If that's the case, just make Tony Tokars the next offensive coordinator. You might as well do that if Mike Norvell's not going to give up play calling. He absolutely has to. Phil Parker. Okay, let's look at Phil Parker. Yeah, because the boy you said, whoever that dude you said, the Iowa defensive coordinator. Okay, that's who you were talking about. Now, this guy's older too. However, the proof's in the pudding with him. The problem is he's been at Iowa so long, you're probably not getting him. I mean, just a quick recap on this guy. The man's been at Iowa since 1999 as the DB coach. He's worked his way from DB coach, and he's been the defensive coordinator there since 2012, 13. You're probably not getting Phil Parker, if we're being honest with you. He doesn't look like he has any interest in leaving Iowa. Well, defensively, he's just got to get a guy in there, again, to run it. Mike's not going to be hands-on with the defense. So that's probably one of the problems where Adam Fuller failed. Adam Fuller just wasn't, offense is for an offensive head coach. Yeah, offense is definitely arguably the most important hire he's going to make for sure. And I think whoever you hire offensively as the coordinator probably will also be coaching the wide receivers, and you'll probably have a spot open to obviously get another offensive line coach. But we're just strictly talking about offensive coordinators. Not an impossibility, definitely a possibility. I guess my question would be, who are some guys? Now, here's the tricky part when we start talking about NFL guys. You got to love NFL guys because of the actual coaching that happens. But there's a reason why a lot of guys coach in the NFL, because they just have to coach. A lot of guys don't like coming back to the college ranks because, especially with the way recruiting is in 2024, 2025 going forward. A lot of people don't have – there's a lot of grown men that have no – they do not in any way, shape, or form want to pander and prop up these 18, 17-year-olds on the recruiting trail to the degree that you have to in today's age to get the recruitment. So I'm not against it, but who would be the guys? And are those guys willing to then be on the trail recruiting? You got to remember, guys, when we're talking about all of this, who's replacing who is a twofold job in college. X's and O's is great. I don't doubt that Adam Fuller has some solid X's and O's, though on field it kind of definitely didn't show. Right? I don't doubt that a lot of these coaches don't know the X's and O's. But if you're not going to recruit the talent to, elevate those X's and O's, Bobby said it the best, Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. Like, we got to be at that point, in my opinion. Like, Randy Shannon is considered a great coach. But damn it, if Randy don't know how to, the Randy special is the Randy special for a reason. We have to look at it as acquire the talent, the rest will come. So I'm just curious. I'm not against the NFL guy at all. I'm just, what are those? Who would be those NFL guys? Mike is always called correct at every stop. I just don't see him giving that up. Well, you might not see it, but if the man said he's willing to do it, I don't see why he wouldn't. Mike Norvell is not like Jimbo Fisher in the sense of, I think Jimbo, I believe wholeheartedly, like that was his passion to call offense. I don't look at it the same way as Mike Norvell, in my opinion. Again, if you're trying to hire the offensive coordinator everybody wants hired, as far as Florida State fans speaking, there's no way you can convince the top offensive coordinators in the country to come to your program and give up their play calling. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Jim Leonard is a guy that people have talked about for years. Every time a big-time defensive coordinator job has popped up, that's always a guy that's name has came out. I don't know. I don't know. Where's he at right now? He's at the Denver Broncos as that guy should probably, yeah. Okay. So Jim Leonard, best known as being Wisconsin's defensive coordinator. Yeah, if I'm Mike Norvell, I'm giving him a call. 100%. Right now he's a defensive backs coach / pass game coordinator for the Broncos. If I'm Mike Norvell, he's at the top of my board too. 100% Jim Leonard is at the top of my board. 100%. You need a different type of fire to recruit these new age kids. A lot of men don't have the patience. A lot of NFL coaches absolutely don't have the patience for it. 100%. So that's something you have to want to do. I agree with that, Antoine. That's something that you have to want. And maybe that's why Jim Leonard is in the NFL right now, because he doesn't have it. Maybe he does, and he comes back to it. But if I'm Mike, I got to make that phone call. So there's definitely some guys. Offensively, again, I think the UNLV offensive coordinator is probably the first guy on the list. Brandon Marion. Is there some other guys? I heard somebody say Chris Winkie. I don't know so much about the Chris Winkie thing. Brian Hartline's another one. I mean, you definitely want Hartline for his recruiting. Yeah, so this is gonna be it's gonna be interesting. I mean, yeah, if you can get Brian Hartline to come take a lateral job, 100%. I don't think there's no way Ohio State loses him without a fight. Cardinals head coach. Are you talking about Cliff Kingsbury? He's not leaving. Cliff Kingsbury's not leaving the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals to come be your offensive coordinator. No, Cliff Kingsbury. He's not. No, he's in. Where's Cliff Kingsbury? He's not the Cardinals head coach anymore. He's the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, I think, actually. Right? I think so. Let me Google that. I'm not even sure where he's at. Cliff Kingsbury. No, he's the Commanders offensive coordinator. Okay. I'm all over the place. I know he wasn't in Arizona anymore. He's Commanders OC. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the fun of it. We're just going to start naming folks. That's not going to happen. Warren Sapp's not going to – he's not going to come to Florida State. I'm not saying he would never do something like that. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen Florida State players coach at Miami and all these other things. Hell, Miami's old head coach used to Florida State alone. But he wouldn't. He's not going to leave Deion to come to Florida State. I don't see that happening. No, I understand why you asked the question. I understand why you asked the question. But again, Mike Norvell, what's the major criticism on Mike? Doesn't prioritize recruiting. What's the major criticism on Dan Mullen? Doesn't prioritize recruiting. Dan Mullen's a good X's and O's football coach. I'm past the X's and O's stuff, y'all. I want a guy who can give me. I don't need X's and O's if I got Dalvin Cook. We ain't need a good O-line with Dalvin Cook. The point being, get me more Dalvin Cooks. Get me another Jameis Winston, a Rashard Green, and the rest will work itself out. Point blank, period. That's where I'm at. Hallman Wiggins. So I don't know this guy's name that I'm about to say. Hallman. I'm going to look up Hallman Wiggins real quick. What about the Wake Forest wide receivers coach? Like, that's a guy that I would highly consider if you could take Steele away from Wake Forest. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. But Wake Forest has had a better at Wake Forest, they've had better and more consistent wide receiver play than anything Florida State has produced. And really, Mike Norvell's entire tenure, Wake Forest has had better receivers. If we're just strictly talking wide receiver coach, I'm looking at a guy like that. Matter of fact, what's his name? I just looked up Hallman Wiggins. He is the co-offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach at Texas A&M. Okay. Hometown LA. He went to New Mexico. So the cool thing about Hallman, he coached under Nick Saban. He was at Alabama from 2019 to 2023, assistant head coach of offense / wide receiver coach at Alabama. That's a guy I'd look at. I'm not going to lie. A guy that coached under Nick Saban knows how a major football program should be run. You might even look at him as offensive coordinator. Good names some of y'all are bringing out here. Good names. Yeah, I don't think Bieniemy is interested in college. There's at least 2 more terminations coming. Two more might be kind. Again, you're not. I don't probably not firing the whole staff, but I think Randy's only temporary. Now they might let a guy like Randy walk away, but I don't think Randy's going to be here going forward. And excuse me, hold on, guys. We can talk about future terminations here in a minute. Give me 1 second. All right. 100% is true. Get a recruiter in here. I want Prime, and he can bring in his entire CU staff with him. Well, they're not going to fire Mike, so you might as well forget it. Prime, at least they're not firing Mike here. So
you want the water bottle? Or do you want me to put it?
I want the water bottle. They're not going to fire Mike, so thank you. They're not going to fire Mike, so talking about bringing in Prime is irrelevant. Get your cars detailed through Credible Detailing there in Central Florida by way of Chris from Orlando on the check-in. There we go. Appreciate you, Chris, as always.
Big as the Super Bowl, but the difference is it's just 2 guys playing shit that they did in the studio.
I think there's a lot of realistic options. I think a lot of the guys that we've named are realistic. I think Jim Leonard is realistic. I think when I say realistic, meaning these guys like Will Muschamp, who's just an analyst, like that's a realistic option if you give him a call. Jim Leonard, who's a passing game coordinator in the NFL, that's a realistic option if you offer him the right contract and give him a call. Offensive or the defensive coordinator at Arkansas, that's a legitimate option. Give him a call. I know people are going to look at the Arkansas defense and be like, hell no. But situations make for sometimes better outcomes when the situation is correct. So that's just 3 guys. And I think those are all legit options. Who else did we name that I'm forgetting? I think the unrealistic options are the Brent Venables and the Dave Arandas because they are currently still head coaches, right? But those first 3 guys I named, like those are legit options that I think you can give a call and vet. Offensively, the same thing. The Holloman Wiggins, the UNLV offensive coordinator. Like those are legit options that you can bring in here. Give them a call. I mean, that's going to come with it. Okay, the buyout's going to come with all of it. If Norvell, let's pump the brakes, Ahmad. If Norvell wins a natty, slow down. We're 1-9. Let's slow down. But I'll hear you out. I'll read the rest of this. But you're starting off poorly. He says if Norvell wins a natty at any time during this contract, you will forgive him for the season. Well, winning national championships do that for you. Winning in general does that. Over the last 2 seasons, not counting this season here, but 2023, 2022, did anybody talk about Jacksonville State? Did anybody talk about the previous 0-4 start? During that time, no. Because winning cures all. If you can go from 1-9 to winning a national championship, you're damn right people will forgive it. But guess what? Then there's the next year. This is a what have you done for me lately business. So what you did in 2023 is great, 13-0. Well, guess what you are in 2024? You're 1-9. 2023 at this point is irrelevant. Not only is it irrelevant because it's 2023, you got nothing for it other than the AC. You didn't even get a chance to play in the playoffs. Now, that's not Mike Norvell's fault, but the point is this is a year-by-year business in college football. This is not a you were good in 2022 or 2023, so we should just gloss. If that was the case, they wouldn't be making these firings right here, right now. If 13-0 had so much weight, it doesn't. Only reason Mike is safe is because they extended him after that 13-0. But now, as you see, here come the changes that have to be made. And he replicates this next year, then guess what? He'd probably be fired. If he does what he's doing this year, next year, after the staff changes, yeah, you're probably gone. But if he wins a national championship at some time, yeah, absolutely. If he's here long enough to do that, or if he can do that quicker than people think, yeah, nobody will give a damn about what happened this year. This is a what have you done for me lately business. Brian McClendon, been under Curry Smart, plus he played at Georgia and he recruited high at Georgia, and I see he looking. What's he coach? Brian McClendon currently is with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the wide receivers coach. He was the Georgia pass game coordinator and wide receivers coach from 2022 to 2023. He was the Oregon interim coach. So he coached at Oregon, looks like under Mario. He's also coached at South Carolina. He was the Georgia intern coach. It looks like after they got rid of Mark Richt in 2015. And he played at Georgia. So he's a Georgia native, ties in Georgia. That's a guy, Mike Norvell, yeah. Give him a call. If you want to purge him from the NFL, though, yeah, you're probably talking about becoming an offensive coordinator. Well, according to Will Muschamp, he's been wanting to spend more time with his family. That's why. That's why. So take from that what you will. So, yeah, there's some good coaches out there, man. There's a bunch of realistic options, you know. So much so, like, the guy that we probably haven't talked about, we haven't talked about at all yet, is Ron Dugans. And that's because that's the most, one, it was the most expected move, and two, it's the most non-consequential move. Frankly, because I believe whoever they bring in as the offensive coordinator automatically takes that role. Because what I believe they're going to do, I think the offensive coordinator will also be the passing game coordinator and wide receiver coach, whoever that offensive coordinator is. I believe they will go out and hire an offensive line coach. So I think you'll knock out OC, wide receiver coach, in one guy. The question is going to be, well, who's the next offensive line coach? The bigger question is, what are the changes that are still coming? Who else is on the chopping block? You did the hard part, in my opinion. In my opinion, you did the hard part. You did the hard part. And the hard part was firing your coordinators. Or maybe not the hard part, but that's the loudest part of all of this. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not on here on a Sunday evening doing an emergency live stream if news came down that Ron Dugans, JP, and Chris Thompson got fired. Like, whoop-de-damn do. You know, like, I'm not going to sit here and get on here and talk about that. Those are what I call non-consequential hires. Right? The fires. Fires that matter, though, are those two coordinators. Because now that trickles through the rest of the staff. So the next guys that are going to be fired, again, I think Shannon. Again, I think he's I think Shannon is just a temporary thing. I do not think Shannon's a permanent thing. So I think definitely a Randy Shannon. Odell retiring most likely. I don't care either way. Odell either needs to retire so it looks better, or again, they need to force retirement if they want to call it that, which is a firing. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, if they can force Bobby Bowden to retire, they can force damn Odell Higgins. Miss me with he's earned whatever. They can make Bobby Bowden go. They can make Odell go. Odell's got to be on the chopping block. Derek Ray. I've said it before, and I said again, Peter, I don't give a damn about Derek Ray. Miss me with the Derek Ray talk. Derek Ray don't coach X's and O's. Derek Ray don't scheme up an offensive or defensive game plan. Derek Ray ain't out here teaching people how to tackle, how to catch, how to block, how to read a defense. Miss me with the Derek Ray talk. That's the biggest scapegoat that's came out of this entire thing. I don't give a good goddamn about a Derek Ray. He can keep his job for all I care. It don't boil down to Derek Ray. They're 1-9, not because of damn Derek Ray. Interesting to see what they do at Chris Thompson. They said, who's they loading? I'm curious. Who's they? Jeff says, my guess is the tight end coach will be fired, running back coach, and probably JPD. That's the whole staff. Jeff, appreciate you for another dono, but tight end coach, they've already fired your wide receiver coach, your O-line coach, and your OC coach today. So you've already fired those three. Your tight end coach to the next offensive coach. And Yak, so that means clean sweep offensively. If there's one guy on offense that I think could keep his job as Coach Yak. I'm not saying he will, but potentially. And this might be a situation where they completely do a clean sweep. I don't know that. I would be shocked if everybody's gone. But what you're suggesting is that the entire offense is gone, and then defensively, JP and Odell and Randy, that means you're only keeping Pat. So you're telling me that they literally would have fired every coach with the exception of Patrick Surtain. That's legitimately what you're suggesting, Jeff. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'd be shocked if that's the case, though. Shout out to War Chant said that, or in order did they really say that? Is there a link to that? Was that just on their live stream? Did somebody write an article? I might have to go back and listen to that if that's true. That Mike Norvell and the coach had to be separated. I love it. If that's the case, then that means, hey. By the way, Dallas is getting destroyed. Remember what I said when I said Shadur Sanders in Dallas? It's going to happen. And Dak went out the year with the injury and he had surgery. Yeah, watch what I tell you. Watch what I tell you. Anyway, I hope Randy is fired. He can't recruit. Randy's not here for the long term. Randy's not here for the long term. Maurice says, staff gone. Now we need some recruiting. Hawks, guys that bring those Florida-grown killers back to tally. The new OC and DC will bring in their team, which is not usually how that happens. But that could be the direction, Uriel, Antonio, Garcia. How many names do you have, my man? Appreciate the comment. Uriel, Antonio, Garcia, Tercero. I appreciate you. Thanks for showing the comment. Please comment some more. Get in the conversation. But that's a lot of damn names, bro. Your parents didn't have to give you all them names, bro. But that's a different strategy. I don't know if I've ever seen. Usually, head coach brings in all of their guys, and then those guys have to kind of. But tell me you're going to hire an OC, you're going to hire a DC, and then allow them to pick everybody up under them. That's an interesting way to look at it. Not saying you're wrong. Terrence Freeman says, keep the DB coach and the special teams coach. I hear you, but the special teams coach can kick rocks. First of all, I don't know if you watched the game last night, but they couldn't block on the punts to save their life. And when it wasn't even a situation where the guys weren't blocking well. FSU didn't make a single adjustment on their punt coverage Notre Dame almost got there 5 or 6 times. They eventually blocked one. I think they technically blocked 2. One of those got tipped. They officially blocked 1. They almost got to him about 6 times. We never adjusted, shifted, blocked. Miss me. And plus, I need a recruiter. Miss me with the special teams talk. I need a recruit. That is the theme for this staff, people. Recruiters. Miss me with the special teams. Oh, because Fitzgerald can kick pretty well. Nah. I need recruiters. You're not wrong, Jeff, at all. Though I'm not so sure Coach Yak deserves necessarily to be fired. Again, that's probably the only offensive coach that I could vouch for is him. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Patrick Surtain. I don't think they would fire him, but I don't think there's a foregone conclusion that he's coming back next year. Especially depending on what they do. Especially depending on what they do with the I'm sorry, I was reading something and it made me lose my train of thought. Especially with depending on who they get as defensive coordinator. I mean, him and Surtain are going to have to mix, or what do they do there? I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Patrick Surtain comes back. Patrick Surtain might want to go look elsewhere for a better situation. That he, a defensive coordinator that maybe he can choose to work for, or maybe that Southern Miss head coaching job is calling his name. So I would love to keep Pat, not so sure Pat stays. No, sir, not me was good. Please hit the like button, folks. Yak is the recruiting coordinator. He can get up out of here too. So be it. No, sir, not me spoke. Might as well clean house. I don't disagree. I just would be shocked if they actually did it. I'd be shocked if they actually did it. When I say clean house, meaning you literally are going to fire everybody. I'd be shocked if that's the case. Norvell, can you please play Trevor Jackson next game? I would disagree with you on this, William. It has nothing. I don't need to see Trevor. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it here. I don't know. I don't think I said it last night. I may have. I don't remember. I would not play Luke Kromenhoek the rest of the year, and I would not play Trevor Jackson. I absolutely would not play Trevor Jackson. Why the hell would you ask for these young players to continue to get beat up behind this? There's nothing that they're going to learn. First of all, Luke Kromenhoek needs to learn how to play the position. Luke Kromenhoek needs to get in a film room, study tape, get in a weight room. Luke Kromenhoek needs 1 to 2 years before he's ready to actually be on the field. Trevor Jackson probably needs that same level, amount of time to develop. Putting them on the field accomplishes nothing. For them to get killed, for them to get hurt, injured, beat up, no, absolutely not. Do not put Trevor Jackson in for the rest of the season. It accomplishes nothing. Zero. If Cert want to go, do you elevate Cert? Because I don't know. I think I really want a real defensive coordinator. I know it's not popular, but if you want to walk, then fine. I no. If he wants to walk, then I mean, there's a lot of variables at play here. Does that new DC want his own DB coach? There's a lot of things at play here. If Patrick Surtain doesn't want to stay, I agree that. So if you remember, I said, in my opinion, the only way I thought FSU would fire Fuller, because I didn't think you could hire a guy after firing Fuller, was that you were going to promote from within. I don't think you can promote Patrick Surtain. Like, I'm not necessarily like the idea isn't terrible to me. You had a guy like Jeremy Pruitt who had no prior defensive coordinator position get his first defensive coordinator job at Florida State, and you saw how that played out. So it's not like some novel concept to promote Patrick Surtain. But if we're talking about firing and a complete rebuild and a change of message and a new voice, I think that you got to go out there and get that. You know what I mean? So we'll see what they do with that. Kusami says this was actually the top 3 coaches I wanted gone. Randy Shannon more so than Atkins, but the DC is gone, so that should take care of the entire issue. We'll see who they bring in, but I hear you, Kusami. You don't. There's no point of watching it, my man. Glenn just okay. You're not winning, William. That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. You might beat Charleston Southern. You're not beating Florida. There's no there's no difference at this point between 1-9, 1-9 or 1-11 or 2-10, right? There's no different, bro. Who cares? Let Glenn go out there, get beat up, get sacked a million times, throw 5 picks. It's irrelevant. What are you trying to win the last 2? Winning those last 2 games again, which you're not going to do, or at least you're not going to win both of them. I think you'll win one of the 2. It doesn't prove anything, man. Do not go and ruin or risk an injury or anything like that to Trevor Jackson. Again, Luke Kromenhoek, in my opinion, shouldn't play the rest of the year. I would not throw him back out there. Yeah, don't put the young QBs behind that line. That's again a lot of variables, man. We don't know. New OC now. Now Mike, as the head coach, will still have some say so in a lot of this. Obviously, but if we're talking about a guy who's going to be calling his own offense, hopefully, allegedly, he might look at what you got there and go. Again, for a fact, I know Luke Kromenhoek's not ready. Trevor Jackson probably is not ready. And Brock, I personally don't even think Brock's ready. After watching a lot of these guys just, so he might look at that crop and go, maybe they got high potential, but they ain't ready right now. I need a guy who can run something. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe if you hire the right guy, he's got a decent quarterback committed somewhere and he brings in his own. Like, those are all possibilities. Now, granted, that's still going to be a freshman, but there's a lot of variables that's going to be played at here once this staff actually gets determined. Yeah, we got 2 3-star D linemen. Absolutely. Yeah, Crow is out there. And Crow's been trying to save face after being very critical of Mike Norvell. And Crow now has gone to bat for Mike. Crow trying to get a job. We'll see what happens with that. As Trevor's biggest fan in this fan base, probably don't play him for the reasons being mentioned. Only the fan base would love to quickly. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, y'all want Trevor Jackson, and then Trevor Jackson is going to go out there. He's going to scramble to the left, throw the ball across his body, throw a pick because that's what freshmen do. Or he's going to scramble, get hit, and fumble. That's what freshmen do. And the same people that are saying you should have given Trevor Jackson a chance are going to be going, Trevor Jackson's ass. Trevor Jackson sucks. That's what we do. So, no, he doesn't need to play. Well, a lot of issues. That's why they're making the changes. This team's going to look different. Obviously, as we already see, the staff's going to look different. That team on the field is going to look different too. Because as you bring in new guys, there's going to be coaches that come in and go, you can't play for me, homie. C door, exit to the left. Helmets to the right, pads to the left. Like that's going to be the conversation that's legit going to happen with this new staff that are told to walk. They're going to be coaches that are going to bring guys in. Again, I have no idea where some of these coaches are going to get hired from. But if we're talking about hiring from other colleges, dare I say there's going to be coaches that have guys committed to them at their current college, and they're going to say, hey, I'm about to take this FSU job. I want you with me. Like, this stuff is going to happen. So what we think, again, this is why I'm so excited, because what we think ain't going to be what we know. Or what we know ain't what we think, or I don't even know what I'm saying right now because that's the point. No idea what I'm even talking about right now because everything's going to be so different. There's gonna be guys that some of y'all think, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm just going to use players' names as examples. Them, you get a new DC in. They might tell Charles Lester, you can't play here. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that those are going to be the tough conversations. And some of the guys that y'all think are are going to be here ain't going to be here. And some of the guys that we never thought would be here might end up showing up, whether it's through the portal or whatever, because that's what changing of the staff is going to bring in. For sure. William with the $3 dono said, we still Florida State. Absolutely. We still Florida State. Go Noles. Absolutely.
More money, yeah, more money, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. The only thing really left to talk about, like with Atkins being fired, now you're just waiting on the decommitment letter from Mario Nash. Again, Atkins had a solid recruiting class this year, right? I'm not going to lie, but that's probably gone now. And that's what it has to be. You had to make that move. I never thought Solomon Thomas was going to end up elsewhere anyway, in my opinion. But now at least you give chance for Solomon Thomas to go on about his business. He doesn't have to wait to crush our hearts on the signing day. He can just do it now, knowing that Alex Atkins is gone and we can move on. So, yeah. That O-line recruiting class gone, done, and done. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Probably, most likely. Absolutely. But again, at this point, it doesn't matter anyway. The only person in that O-line class that I believe would have started for you or been able to play for you day one would have been Solomon Thomas. Everybody else was a project. Everybody else needed that development time. Not saying Solomon Thomas didn't need development, but he was probably the one guy who was physically ready to play for you day one, right? So you just, like we said before, this is going to be a transfer portal team next year. We'll see what they can salvage in recruiting, if they can salvage anything. It's tough business, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. After JT, the team really an equivalent type. The team really needs an equivalent type of quarterback to replace him. DJ wasn't that. A lot of coaches and coordinators don't fundamentally realize this when they replace a former quarterback. Who do you think we're going to get out of the portal? I don't know who's in the portal yet. I mean, I can't start naming guys, and I don't even know who's going to be in. I have no idea who's going to be in the transfer portal. Let's wait and see. We know how to. We've been experienced the portal enough by now. We know how this works. Wait till the names drop, and then we can talk about who's in the portal. I can't tell you who to think they're going to get out of the portal right now because I have no idea who'll be in the portal. Well, I think that's why you make the fires. I think you absolutely are restarting recruiting now. But the early signing period is a few weeks away. This class is dead. Oh, this class is roadkill. This class got hit by the car and has been sitting on the side of the road now for a week. This class is done. It's flies. The buzzards are circling if they're not already picking off the bones. This class is done. But can you what you're really targeting now is the portal. And coaches that you're going to poach from other teams, they're going to have players that they're still interested in these types. That's what you're targeting. You're targeting probably more so on the transfer portal and, of course, recruiting further on. But this class right here, the tribe of 25, might only have 5 players in the tribe of 25, and it's dead. This class is done. Jeff with another $10. And after this, I think we'll call it a night. But Jeff says the only thing I have looking forward to is what coaches are. Yeah, this offseason is going to be fun. And I'm glad we're here. This offseason is going to be fun, and it started, and here we are. But Jeff says the only thing I'm looking forward to is what coaches are they hiring to see what the 25 team looks like. 100%. And with that being said, again, thank you, Jeff, for another dono and all the love. Thanks, everybody who came on here. I cut my own self off. On a short term or short moment's notice, you came in here, kicked it with me for about an hour and 30 on this Sunday. I'm not going to sit on here for 3-4 hours, but I had to get this out of here, let people talk about it. Hey, Florida State fans, the season, disaster. Disaster is not even the word. I don't even know if there's an adjective that describes what we watched this year. But at least here we are. We have things to be excited for, things to look forward to. And look, y'all wanted Fuller gone? He's out of here. Y'all wanted Atkins gone? He's out of here. We all wanted Dugans gone. He's out of here. More changes are coming. Players, coaches. This is the offseason that makes or break Mike Norvell. This is it. This is it. This is it. In year 5, here we are, but this is it. As always, it's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy. We are out here. Go Noles. And I'll see you guys later on in the week. It is a bye week too, by the way. So I got something for y'all this week. Probably take a break on Saturday, but we'll do a hangover sometime during the week. Y'all have the great rest of y'all Sunday evening. And happy Veterans Day to the veterans, by the way. Shout out to all those who have served.